Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. Ha, caught me off guard. Hello, wake up. You don't know. I'm awake. I'm here. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Friday, the 16th of October, 2020. I hope you're having a good week. Ready for the weekend? We finally made it to Friday. Yay, it's Friday. I'm going to dance away from this show. Ting, 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 as soon as we're over. Andy Hall is joining me. He'll be here in just a second. And Nokasuchi, Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog. Blog over at Pathos will be joining me in just a second. His links are down below. Nokasuchi, the Rage, he was up all night. He'll be a little late getting here, but he'll be here. And his links are below too. They'll be joining me as we talk about stuff. Yeah, stuff. We're going to be talking about stuff right after.
Oh my God. Jesus. Do you like it?
Sometimes you can choose to not be a dick. Yes. Thank you.
I can't take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't. Take it off. I can't take it off. Like, take it off. I can't.
You know,
here we are. Good morning, Andy. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, sir. I have no complaints.
Good. Yeah. It's one of those days. Tech Gremlins. It's not Tech Gremlins. It's just me. I'm distractulated this morning for no real good reason. I'm
distractulated. I like your linguistic skills there, Chris.
Yeah. I just make it up as I go along. Shakespeare-like, as it were.
Shakespeare-like, right. Well, you got to work on your iambic pentameter. Is that the proper iambic pentameter? That's right. You got the rhythm, man.
I think so. Yeah. Good morning to you, and good morning to everybody in the chat. Trina DeLuca, JJ Del Angel, Brainbud, Brian. How you doing this morning, Brian? Need to bump over to your channel. I've been busy. Haven't been there in a while. Woolly Ignorant is here. Trina DeLuca, by the way. I get my hugs. Nice to have you. Casey Atheist, Randy, The Rage. I knew he's in the chat. Rough night. He'll be here. Derek Cruz. Good morning. Derek Cruz. Jesse M. Paul Camish. Good morning, Paul. Flow State is here. All the wonderful people. Christian is here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you're having a safe week, and I hope you're ready for the weekend. I also want to say thank you to everybody who watches on Facebook. And if you're watching on Facebook, I post a link so you can join us on YouTube and get involved in the chat. And also to the people who listen on the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast live, there's also, I put links over there too. So if you want to join us over on YouTube and then get involved in the chat, you're welcome to. So good morning, everybody. I hope you had a great week. I hope you're ready for the weekend. Let's do the thing. I'm ready. So Andy, you got plans for the weekend? Do anything?
Yes, I know that I have plans. That means my girlfriend has plans for us for the weekend. I'm not, so I'm sure that they'll be fun filled. There are definitely areas of the town, of the city that I live in, that basically uninhabited, right around Harvard University, hardly anyone's around there. Around MIT, hardly anyone's around there. And there are still some places open. So we might explore those areas, especially before winter comes. So we might be hanging around Harvard Square, might be going over by MIT and seeing what the sitch is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good for you. I mean, getting out, getting some sun.
Yeah. What about yourself, Chris? You got anything going on?
Actually, I do. Let me welcome The Rage. Nokasuchi has joined us, at least in photo, if not in spirit. Good morning.
Hey,
Nokasuchi,
good morning.
how you doing, brother?
Good morning. I am just crawling out of bed.
So this is going to be an interesting question. So, Mr. Rage, how long were you up until? I think he's off. He's
is he snoring?
I'm totally muted. I was up till about 2 a.m. But okay. I was online streaming, arguing with Christians all day long.
I was on the Empathetic Atheist show, and I didn't get into bed until about 12:30 in the morning. And thank my fictitious God, my girlfriend woke me up at about 8:15. And I'm going to myself, wow, this is why I would suck at being a road comic, because because I would have to be, finishing my set sometime around midnight, and then I'd have to be up to go to the local radio station to talk about the Chuckle Hut. at like 5
Right.
o'clock in the morning. And it's like, yeah, this YouTube gig is a lot easier. I just roll out of bed, grab my coffee, grab some toast,
Yeah.
and try to be coherent for an hour.
I had John Peterson trying to wake me up because we messed up our times for our Women of Atheism Roundtable. It's actually going on right now. We thought it started at noon, but it's Australian women today, and got the time just totally jacked up.
I woke up and I saw you streaming. I thought surely Rage will be here, and then you're like, I just woke up. I'm like, just woke up. He's streaming. But I forgot, John. I even said to Andy something about somebody else might be running your stream for you. But yeah, I guess I forgot. John, you and John Peterson did the thing at the place.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, Andy, to your question as to what I have going on, something interesting is going on this evening. It's a little bit anxiety inducing. So me and the wife are going out to dinner with another couple from somewhere else. It's not important where they're from. But one of them is from out of town, and the point is I'm going to a restaurant inside to sit down and eat at a restaurant.
You're going inside?
Inside to eat inside for the first time.
Bad. See, I don't know that much American Sign Language, but I know what bad is. That's bad.
Yeah.
In my own opinion,
it's discomforting. I'm choiceless. I am choiceless. If any of you have ever seen Stargate, you understand what I mean when I say I'm choiceless. Yeah, but so it's a little anxiety. I was like, oh, so we're doing that, huh? We're going to and not to knock restaurant employees or people or anything. They got to live and do their thing and make their monies. I totally get it. It's just me and the wife have been out once. We went one time where we went in and sit at a place that we were very familiar with, where we knew they'd sit us very far away. It was not like being in a real restaurant. It was like this is going to be a little different. It's going to be busy Friday night and it's the Outback Steakhouse, the steakhouse of the Outback.
The Steakback Outhouse. Is that where you're going?
So
let me just reframe this, and I think I'm going to do the trick that I was talking about yesterday about when I hear something that I'm highly skeptical about. I'm just going to rephrase what you just told me, but a little slower.
Okay, do that. Yeah, I saw that magic yesterday.
So you're going inside to a restaurant on a busy Friday night, and that's the plan.
Yes, with other people
that you haven't.
I don't normally be around other people. No, I mean, it's been, I guess, outside of handing them money through my car window as I get like a Starbucks or something.
I think I told you guys that the last time I was indoors was at my birthday, and I was blacked out. Basically, I'm looking at the pictures the day after. It's like, yeah, none of that is in here. None of that is in here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I've had those nights.
oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, thoughts and prayers for you, Chris, and yours.
Thoughts and prayers.
But there's this. Have I told you about the other side of the mountain? Have I told you about this metaphor I like to use about COVID-19, the other side of the mountain?
No.
So there's a story about this. White people like going up the Himalayan mountain, like to go up big mountains for some reason, right? It for some of us, it's like, oh, got to go up to the world's highest peak, and this is the thing that we're going to do, regardless of how out of shape we are. But if we have a lot of money, this is the thing that we do. So there was a guy who wasn't able to make it up one time. He made it up part way, but he wasn't able to do it within the time period he was supposed to. Mm-hmm. So he had to go back down again. And so he was really bummed out about it. His guide was really bummed out about it. And the guide told him, look, I'll give you a special, and I'll guarantee you that you'll make it to the top of the mountain. So the rules of the mountain are, to Mount Everest, is that if you get up here by, let's say, 2:00 in the afternoon, that's fine. But if you're up here after 2:00 in the afternoon, it's over. It's done. You won't, we have to call it because we have to make it back to base camp. So this guy wasn't up there at 2:00. He wasn't up there until 4:00. And the guy's like, all right, I guess we have to head back down the mountain. and a snowstorm came up. The guy, the tourist, I believe, fell off the mountain. He just fell to his death. And the guide froze to death during the nighttime, during the blizzard. And so the way that I look at our time right now, we're about halfway. We're about midpoint through the pandemic. The vaccine might be here in 6 months. Who knows? But I'm looking at this time as being coming down the mountain. And that I don't want to be that guy who falls off Mount Everest right when he thinks he's going to be safe.
I saw this meme that says, all the dead people on Mount Everest were once highly motivated individuals. That's
and I just want to tell you about why I'm difficult to be around. And this is exactly one of the reasons why I'm difficult to be around, because every once in a while I just turn into intervention Andy. It's like, have you really thought about this all the way through? And this kind of behavior does not earn me friends. I have to say that straight up. This does not earn me friends or warm feelings.
Got you. Real quick, I want to tip back to our topic for a moment. People in the chat, some people have saw last night's debates. Flow State, I should have added highlights on YouTube, because that's all I've really watched too. Highlights on YouTube and a couple of articles I read on the interweb. So that whenever I say neither, I didn't watch neither. That's my vote that I chose. But yeah, that's what I should have put, highlights on YouTube, etc. Yeah, this morning I've been watching it, but it wasn't, I didn't want to sit around. But somebody did. Let me see here. There was somebody in the chat who watched the entire, Twice Baked said that they watched the entire thing. I asked Twice Baked who they thought did better. We await a response.
So there were two entire things. There was the Biden thing that went for an hour and a half. And then there was the Trump thing that went for an hour.
Okay. Yes.
I was on the show last night, so I wasn't able to see it. I did see, my girlfriend did report in about how Trump did. And then I saw the clips and read some articles about his performance last night, which was classic Trump.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I have to say, he's a little more off hinge than he was in the beginning. I think in the beginning, whenever he was running for election, had he been doing the things he's doing now, he wouldn't have won. I don't think. Maybe he would have, with all the corruption and stuff. But it sure seems like he's now he's at open arms supporting, or at least embracing, the QAnon stuff.
Well, he doesn't know anything about QAnon. He just knows that they're against pedophiles. How can you argue against that, Chris? Are you for pedophiles?
Well, I donate to their... No. You know what I mean? Yeah, but absolutely. But there's pro him, and anybody who's pro him has his favor.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Regardless of the harm they do to anything. Of course, I didn't watch either. I was careful to phrase the question. I started to phrase the question as, who do you think performed better? But that would be a tricky question. Biden did good. He remembered people's names. He remembered questions. He didn't seem like somebody that the Russian and Trump disinformation machine would have you believe is going senile and losing their mind. He did a pretty good job. Trump, on the other hand, was, like you said, classic Trump, as I said, a little off the rails, quoting QAnon, retweeting their stuff and all kinds of things. But you can't really, if you grade it by performance, they both did exactly what you'd expect them to do, and they both did it well. Biden came on and did what you expected him to do, be very presidential, and he did it well. Trump came out and you expected him to fling feces around the stage. That was his job.
Right.
He succeeded.
And that's what I was going to say. It's like, what's the job of each candidate? The job of each candidate, for Biden, it's very different being a front runner. Is that he just has to be able to knit together coherent sentences, not insult anyone too much, and be able to remember minor things about policy. Those are his goals. For Trump, however, he has a brand, and like any fighter who is losing, he reverts back to form, to what he believes his strengths are, and this is what he did too. And he knows he's not going to win really by legitimate ways, and that his best bet is to win, in overtime. And so he, it's like, yeah, he's really trying to get as much support as he can right now, but his eyes are in overtime because he knows realistically speaking, that's the only way he's going to be able to pull this thing out.
I was in a room with a couple Christians yesterday, and we got into an argument about who canceled on the second debate, and the Trumpers thought that it was Biden. And they swore by it. They swore by it.
Well, is their only source of information Fox News?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it has to be. I was just face palming. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, you can have there's plenty of. That's one of the things I've discovered is that whenever I talk to somebody who doesn't know things that seems like common knowledge, that tends to be that their only source of news and information would be Fox News.
Because I just want to say that it was I hoped that Biden was going to put Trump into a position where Trump would bail out of the second debate. I said that before, and I think it would have been, and I thought it was advantageous for Biden to do that, because when you get into the third debate, we're going to see Trump unhinged. Like, you think Trump was unhinged before. I think that it's going to be crazy fun in that kind of dumpster fire kind of way. And next Thursday, I believe, is the third debate, or supposedly is supposed to be the third debate.
Right. Well, as predicted, as all the polls show Trump getting more and more behind and more trounced, you can see, and as we get closer to the election, Trump is becoming more and more desperate.
Yeah.
As we've all talked about, going everything from trying to kill the post office to limit the vote, to trying to increase the spread of coronavirus, to limit the vote, to trying to pack the Supreme Court. So after the thing is done, he can just contest the election results all the way up to the Supreme Court and have it handed to him by the conservative packed Supreme Court. He's doing everything he can. And there again, as the final thing, is arresting his political opponents, and he's been talking about it. I've been saying he was going to do it for a long time. We get closer. I mean, Flow states, oh yeah, how can you guys? Trump's not losing. It's ridiculous. Trump gets on stage and he babbles his way through almost anything he does. He look at all the stuff he did, the coronavirus. He's even losing the gray vote now because he's downplayed. I mean, he's losing on every turn. So he's doing everything he can to shut down and stop the Americans to vote. He's losing badly.
I want to point this out, is that Biden is not winning the race. Trump is losing the race.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I understand. Right. Yeah, I'm just saying we've got somebody in this chat going, Trump's winning huge. You can't see Trump's winning. He's doing so great. I'm just trying to point out that that's absolutely. So this is what classic of what we just got finished talking about. Apparently this individual gets almost all or completely all their information from Fox News.
Yeah, I mean,
reasoning is a hell of a drug.
You can make an argument about 2016 and the silent Trump voters that happened in 2016, but you can't sit here and say that Biden is losing. No, you go by the polls. Maybe the polls are wrong. Maybe that's your argument, but he's clearly winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. On election day, he will be declared the winner. And the reason why, one of the many reasons why Trump won back in 2016 is why the Germans were able to roll over the French in 1940 within 6 weeks, maybe less than 6 weeks. It's because they were fighting the French. That's why they won that quickly. The reason why Trump won in 2016 is because he was fighting Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they were fighting the French. The French was supposed to be an elite force that was not prepared to take on Germany.
Well, I mean, when you stop and think of all that it took to stop Germany, and then to expect that France all by itself could have done it before anybody else got involved is a little. Completely. I mean, the French, when you stop and think about it, they've got a bad name, but they fought their asses off, and they lost all the way back. They fought, and they never give up. So we can trash them, but they did their absolute best. And had they had the full force of America and Russia and England at the time at their fingertips, they wouldn't have lost. They wouldn't have finally had to surrender. But it was just them and Germany.
For France to win World War II was 20 million dead Russians, basically.
Yeah, I mean, so to think that France should have.
Sorry, everyone.
That France should have somehow been able to withstand that all by themselves. It's just kind of, so it's really unfortunate that France got that a black mark on their name. Because anyway, moving.
We could do like a whole hour on Operation Sickle Strike, but that would be a little tangential. Yes.
Yes. So going back to the thing, I mean, I guess it depends again on your goals and what you think was successful. If you expected Trump to come out and act presidential, then yeah, Trina, the polls in 2016, me as well. But now see, a lot has happened since 2016. Not only has Trump, I mean, look at all the things that has happened. He's done it. We've got riots in the streets and all the things that have gone on in the Trump world. He's driven our country mad. The no voters last time are voting. People have voted in record numbers down in Texas. 1 million people already voted down in Texas. I mean, it's just crazy, the people who are lining up and going out of their way now to vote.
I'll say that when I think about who's going to win the presidential elections, because I've had discussions with different people about not trusting polls, and on 538 in 2016, they gave Trump about 30% chance of winning the election. And I'll say this: anyone who's played Dungeons and Dragons and rolling dice knows that 30%, that's something you can bet on. That's like, it's not a safe bet, but that's 1 out of 3 times, and that's substantial. Mm-hmm. Now, right now, they're giving Trump, let's see, I believe it's a 12 and 100 chance to winning, and which is substantially less, of course, than 30 and 100. Yeah. But so it isn't just about polls; it's about which polls and trying to delve into what those polls do.
Right. I'm just saying, but just because Hillary was bad. Ooh, Hillary's emails. Well, they're literally trying the same thing. Biden's emails now. That's their October surprise. But man, before it was just Trump's a little crazy and he says what he thinks. Now Trump is a lot crazy. He's destroyed our country, split it in half, killed over 200,000 Americans. And a lot of people who last time didn't feel motivated to vote are down voting. So I just don't think it's going to be, it's going to take a lot of corruption in the voting to make Trump even close to winning this thing.
Well, you have to ask how much corruption is necessary, but because really it's about where the tipping point is. And let's face it, in some states, the tipping point for outright voter fraud is different than other states.
Right. Well, they got voter suppression. There's a difference. We got voter fraud. Yep. And voter suppression. And we've got voter suppression going on. It's rampant throughout our country. Look at California, all the stuff they're doing, Texas, what they're doing. The voter fraud would be committed by the people who listen to Trump, who try to vote twice intentionally to put weight on the system whenever Trump was telling them that's voter fraud. You never would have a president doing that before. You would never have Obama coming out and telling people he would not relinquish power. And there was no threat of that. None whatsoever. When Bush lost the election, but Trump has been from the beginning. Matter of fact, people have been predicting that if he won the presidency, he wouldn't give it up. Yeah. I was one of those people. And here we sit. He's been threatening it for months, and now there are people who still follow him, and I don't get it. Despite all these things, they don't. Where does democracy end and fascism begin? And why don't they care?
Why are people Christian? Why are people Christians? It isn't because they entered that relationship with their fictitious divine being in a rational manner. They entered it for irrational reasons. Right. So it's difficult to reason someone out of a position that they didn't get into via reason. Right. It's emotion and it's tribe.
Right. Well, as far as this debate about the size of the rallies and stuff, we've got two different parties. One of them that embraces social distancing and masking and not gathering in large groups any more than they have to. And you've got one that completely, absolutely flaunts that. So to compare the size of their rallies is disingenuous. To look at the size of their rallies and say that this one is better because they have more people at their rallies, that's...
Right.
That's unfair. That's openly disingenuous, absolutely hypocritical, and what we would expect from a modern day conservative.
But that's a nuanced argument that requires people to have some kind of abstract reasoning, and that's a heavy lift for a lot of this country.
Yeah.
People see
Yeah.
many people out rally. Eat good, kind of.
I know.
Getting my hand in a simian-like manner on my table.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just saying that's oh yeah, flow state. Asachi is the sort. Flow state is the one who says, but look at the difference. I mean, to compare Biden's rallies and Trump's rallies, and Trump has been holding rallies for 4 years, 6 years. He never stopped. He never stopped holding rallies.
He was smart about that. If I was Trump, I wouldn't have stopped holding. I would have kept my base as energized as humanly possible throughout the entire 4 years, because there are a lot of little battles to fight that you would need an energized base. And once again, this is the problem with the DNC. They don't keep their base energized consistently, and that's what you need to do to win consistently.
Yeah. And that's what absolutely they did not do this time. Well, and see, that's the whole thing. Well, again, it's less about, and it's kind of, again, poor to compare Biden and Trump rallies, because a lot of people, and I have to admit this, are not necessarily voting for Biden. They're not going to rallies because they're not voting for Biden. They're voting against Trump. They're voting for Biden because they're voting against Trump. So there's a difference. Because I'm one of those people, I don't think Biden was the best candidate. I still don't think he's the best candidate.
He's a two-time loser. He's a two-time loser. And I would even say that they're not even voting against Trump. They're voting against COVID-19. When you really look at why people are voting for Biden, they're really voting against COVID-19. If it wasn't for COVID-19, Trump would be winning. They are voting against COVID-19.
Well,
effectively.
and see, that's something else I've often said as well. I mean, not necessarily COVID-19. Trump would have destroyed our country financially. Our economy was due to a collapse right about now had there not been a COVID-19, because Trump pulled off all the taxes off all the rich and has been giving away all this money. Though our economy was due to collapse, Trump used the COVID-19 and the injection of trillions of dollars to hide the fact that. So you're right. Either way, you're right, Andy. Either way, you're right. Were it not for the COVID-19,
you can say that all the time, Chris. You're right. Either
Trump
way, Andy
would have been lost, because the COVID-19 helped hide the financial collapse that was coming for our country. Because COVID-19 comes around, all of a sudden they're dumping trillions of dollars into the economy, right? You know, and they're blaming the COVID-19, but it would have collapsed in certain areas anyway because of what Trump's been doing.
Yeah, well, most of the models showed a collapse pre-election. They were banking that the collapse wouldn't come until after the election, after he was reelected. And it was a gamble that they took. They might have got away with it had it not been for COVID kind of pushing that collapse before its time.
Yep. And every time the conservatives have the presidency, the House, and the Senate, they collapse the economy and we go into a depression every single time. So this was no different. This is absolutely no different. And things they set in motion, here we are.
Yeah, and when it comes to crowd sizes, sure, in any other normal election, you compare the two, and they're a fairly good indicator of who has energy and who might win on election day. Not during this pandemic. What you're seeing is the splitting of the country. You're seeing the 30% that don't follow the science, don't believe the science, they believe Donald Trump, showing up to rallies for Donald Trump. And then the other side that does believe the science, that is trying to stay home, that is trying to avoid a virus, not going to rallies for Joe Biden. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So to put them on a scale and go, well, look, this one's got bigger rallies, is just kind of intentionally disingenuous and dishonest.
Well, that's misinformation, my friend. That's a stock and trade of some political parties.
Absolutely. The right political party, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, that's my kind of thinking right there.
Well, I think that they just have to tell themselves anything, to get through the next 3 weeks so they can cheat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's just white knuckling it. It's just white knuckling it until November 3rd rolls around.
Yeah. I'm still kind of curious about what's going to happen over these next couple of weeks, because there's going to be some desperation as we get closer and closer. They're going to get more and more desperate.
Yeah, it will be interesting. The COVID rates are increasing. So there's a second or third wave, depending on how you look at depending on where you are, and depending on how you look at the infection rates. And so that's going to play out somehow too. And once again, COVID goes up, Trump's ratings go down. Ultimately, that's they are,
and it's going up.
They are joined at the hip, so to speak, in that negative correlation kind of way.
Right. And Brainbug, I'm kind of distracted by the chat. You said both political parties, Chris, not just the right. I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you're talking about like hypocrisy or lying,
misinformation.
I mean, that's
once again, misinformation. We can't do this kind of false equivalency. There is a dramatic
absolutely
difference between. And once again, I've said many times, I'm not a big fan of the DNC, but no. There is. Comparing Donald Trump's brand of republicanism versus Biden is, I think, is just it's apples and oranges. That's what it is.
Right. Well, again, it's sort of like I've been saying. Donald Trump is over there painting the walls with his feces, and you're going, "Oh, look, there's a little poopy over on Biden's side," and you call them the same. It's like, well, we've always known that politicians tend to be a little disingenuous. We could say they're liars, but wait, I've always said most politicians are lawyers, aren't they? Most of them, right? And lawyers are known for being good, upstanding citizens. No, lawyers are known for being liars. There's a whole band of jokes associated with lawyers and sharks and which would you save? You know what I mean? Lawyers are known for, and then they become politicians and somehow they stop lying. No, they become politicians, and politicians are known for what? Lying. Okay, all right. So then, well, at least being disingenuous to get their power and do their thing. Then they become elected to the presidency. And somehow the person that is usually a liar goes to, and not all lawyers are liars, not all politicians are liars. I'm not trying to vilify. I'm just saying by our standards of our society, this is kind of how the way. So this is how our society views these people. So if our society views these people as liars and these people as liars, why would the person who rises to the top of all those people suddenly not be a liar? But there's been one thing where our politicians on both sides have been truthful and disingenuous, and they worked within certain bounds of truthfulness and disingenuousness, because usually journalism kind of kept them honest, and they worked within that. They didn't actually actively hurt their own people on the whole, but Trump has. He has done everything to hurt our own country. And right from the beginning, the first thing he did was go after Meals on Wheels, and it didn't get any better from that. He went after Meals on Wheels, and he puts Ted Cruz in charge of NASA and the Department of Energy. He puts Betsy DeVos as the Department of Health, Department of Education. Who is Betsy DeVos? Betsy DeVos, however you want to say her name, is the lady who owns all the student loan debt.
I'll say this: elites do not care about the country that they live in. You can see this historically. They don't care in the sense that they make decisions contrary to the best interests of their country. Right. They want to line their pockets, and this is historically accurate over time. Elites do not care about the country that they live in. Right. If they are given unbridled power and authority, they will drive that country into the ground. It's only when there is competition from other countries that elites actually pull their crap together to try to better the rest of the people within that country. Sure. It is our responsibility, those of us who are not part of the 1%, to make them behave. It's as simple as that.
But whenever we talk, we're talking about the differences between what Trump and they are doing against our old villains, the normal villains, the villains we normally know, Nancy Pelosi and the DNC and the bad guys who they sold us out to Wall Street and all this because Hillary Clinton ran a noise machine so we couldn't hear. Yeah, we know that. That's the villain we know. At least when they won the power, they all of a sudden had the power, and then they were on our side and they fought for at least America. But Trump has not done that. He's done everything he can to disassemble this nation from day one. And the closer he gets to the election where he is outnumbered and gets more desperate, he's been talking about not accepting election results. How un-American, how undemocratic can you get? How can you even remotely call yourself a GOP conservative and hear him say that? The election hasn't even started, and he's been saying for at least a month and a half, 2 months now, that he would not accept a peaceful transition. How can you even remotely consider yourself a patriot of this nation and not condemn that and not shit can him right then.
Well, I think.
Go ahead, Rach. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think people projecting that American spirit the most, the most national people, the loudest of the loud, they're also the weakest, and they need that strong man. I think it's a psychological thing.
I'd say that that evangelicals do not care about the United States of America when it comes to God. There is God up here and their belief system.
Yeah.
And the United States of America is way down on the list of what they consider to be important.
Yeah. Did you see that article about the Christians that are putting out this official, you know what, we're tired of Donald Trump using our faith to control us? Have you seen that? There's a group of Christians bucking the trend.
Well, I mean, Christianity, once again, is not a monolithic institution. I've heard John Loftus use the term Christianities, as in there are different, subgroups of Christianity. And so, yeah, so when I pick my fight with Christians, it's usually with evangelicals, because evangelicals are the core of Donald Trump support, and they are the most toxic and pernicious group out there undermining the republic.
Yeah. Good morning, Remember Sammy Jenkins. How you doing?
So yeah, there have been like liberal Christian groups out there that have been trying to fight against Trump for a while, and now some of the more centrist religious groups are realizing that in case of theocracy actually taking hold in the United States of America, those liberal and centrist groups are going to be purged.
Well, yeah, and I think the most fundamental of Christians are starting to reject him too, just based on lifestyle and the tweets. But it does seem to be that evangelical bloc that really, really still supports him and are willing to support him no matter what.
It's just crazy that what's that scale you talk about, brother? Where we keep going to the right?
Oh, the
Overton, yeah.
The Overton window. It's crazy. And why does the far right have to be so crazy? Why does QAnon have to represent the ultra far right of craziness? Why is that? I mean, the left is crazy. We know there's crazy cat lady lefts. No offense, cat ladies. But you know what I mean? We know we wrangle them. We don't listen to them.
If you're a middle of the road Republican, or even a center right Republican, in terms of where the Republicans are, there is an incentive for you to take a blind eye to the crazy QAnon stuff, because the more crazy the far right is, the better chance you have of getting your stuff done. That's the nature of the Overton window. Right. So there is an incentive for centrist Republicans to allow that crazy stuff to happen, because they see it as a way for them to get their policies enacted. Of course, it's like having the wolf by the ears in a lot of ways. When it gets, the idea that you can actually manage and control crazy extremism, it's a fallacy, because at some point you're going to let go of those ears, and the wolf's going to, your own radical fringe elements will bite you and kill you if they get a chance.
Yeah. I briefly spoke to both of you guys about an idea I had about a one-man play or one-man thing about a month ago, I think it was. And it was called, I hate to spoil this if y'all are going to steal my idea, at least credit me for it. But it was called The Day of the Rope, because there's this thing called the Day of the Rope, in which right-wing supremacists believe that whenever they win and they get power, they're going to go around hanging all the people who are race traitors, who are white, who helped the people of color, who defended them or stood up for them or hid them whenever everything went. So they're going to go around hanging all those white people who are race traitors. That's called the Day of the Rope. And it's something they've been masturbating over since the 70s. It's something the white supremacists come over. I had this idea of writing a single one-man story called The Day of the Rope, where this man is kept, he's in being locked in and waiting for his hanging. It's his day of the rope, and they're coming. He's locked in, and they got to come get him. I was going to do a one-man play. That was the idea. And then I've been watching this president embrace QAnon. We all know the president is on the verge of possibly trying to steal this election, with the possibility of the entire right-wing GOP abetting him as he does it. And then if he embraces the QAnon, what's QAnon's thing? the Democrats and liberals are actually a pedophile cabal who all need to be gathered up, tried, and hung. So maybe instead of the day of the rope, I should write something called the day of the Q, where really it's just our worst predictions come along to where all of us who spoke up on the left are, we lose, the Q wins, they overtake everything. And then the guy is actually someone like me who's sitting there waiting for his day of the Q because they're going to hang me for speaking out against their craziness.
The problem with the day of the Q is that it would be, you'd have to write it up pretty fast because QAnon's probably going to go the way there'll be another crazy conspiracy theory that takes hold of these fringe elements of the population. So if you're going to do Q, you have to push it out fast. Sometimes
when you do things, it's more about history than it is about. You're right, though. It would have to happen fast, but it's more about history, than it is about necessarily. Yeah,
and these extremist groups take over when they have people in the highest offices, and for the first time, I think ever, we have a president that believes these conspiracy theories, and he has from the beginning. He believed in Pizzagate. He believed Alex Jones. He thinks the frogs are turning people gay. Like, this is the president we have right now.
Right? I don't think Neil Fort. He just says it.
Right. Neil Fort says pedophile cabal, yes, rounded up and hung. That's my addition to the Q movement. I didn't add that. I just happened, as I was going through this morning, I read somebody's description on it. They're talking about not necessarily hanging them. The day of the rope was hanging. I'm merging two stories here. I'm trying to write a story. If you weren't listening, I was talking about writing a dramatic play concerning this. But the whole day of the Q thing would be an execution, but they're claiming they would round them up and execute. The ultimate goal is to execute all the pedophiles, I think, is part of their deal. But I need to learn more about it. Thank you to Ian Davenport for the $5 Australian of support to the channel for the sticker. I think he likes the idea. So, just a thought, just a dramatic notion playing on what would be the worst case scenario. Imagine writing that from the left or from the right. You're a right-wing person. You're right. Oh my goodness, the left is one. The worst part of the left is one. They're going to come by tomorrow and they're going to give me health care and they're going to make me marry another man and they're going to make me gay. What would their story be? I don't really know what the ultimate fear of the right would be. But on the left, if QAnon won, it would be unfortunate.
Well, that's what I always hated about House of Cards, right? Like, it was a great story, and like I could totally believe it, except the guy was on the left, not the right, and it just never really what? So I think it would be a really good play, Chris. I'd be interested to be one of the people that actually read it and told you what I think.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've been trying to find just something to do with myself, kind of thing.
So
I don't know if y'all know the Shakespeare stuff. So.
The communists, they would, I believe the NKVD was the secret police at the time. They would ride into a hamlet and they would say, look, they would bring the town elders together and go, look, we know you have X number. They just made up a number of traitors here in your town. Go take care of them. Bring them up here, and we'll take care of them. They're like, what do you mean? We have no idea what you're talking about. And these guys, the secret police would just go, look, it's either you figure out who they are, or we will figure out who they are. And they're like, well, we all know what that means. We'd all be we'd be shot in the back of the head and in a shallow grave. And so this is how systems make everyday citizens complicit in these kind of war crimes and crimes against humanity. So if you wanted for a little idea, Chris, that would be for your story. It would be the idea that there's just a quota of people you got to kill in this town, because that's how you establish illegitimate authority, is through terror.
Well, yeah, I don't know how all that's going to go. I really have to put some more mental effort into it. In my mind, it's just been a solo one man in his last hours talking about what's happened. So it'd really just be, I don't know, got to work it out. To be honest, I don't know. I haven't watched enough of that stuff. Oftentimes my Dunning-Kruger kicks in. I'm like, oh, that'll be easy. Let me just get my pen and paper.
Are we talking about when you say Dunning-Kruger? Kruger, see, that's my Massachusetts coming in there. Are we talking about marijuana? Is that what we're talking about?
No, that helps too, though. I mean, when you add them together, it doesn't help at all. Nick, nobody disagrees that pedophile networks should be shut down. But the
Yeah,
problem
Catholic
is
Church.
that the
All
QAnon
for it.
spits out so much misinformation and slanders so many left-wing people just because they're accusing everybody of being pedophiles and that everything's a pedophile and blah, 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 that they obscure the real problem. But that's not what this show is about, brother. Moving on. You were saying, Andy?
I don't know what I would say, to tell you the truth. I'm
I
sure
don't
it
know.
was
I was
funny,
ranting
though.
about something.
I'm sure it was funny.
I was talking about my Dunning-Kruger. I was just saying it would be easy.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be easy to write a play, and then I'm going to sit down and write a one-man play, and it's not nearly as easy, you know. And then I'm like, well, you know what? This is hard. I'm going to go play a video game for a while.
Yeah.
So there's those kind of things going on. I don't know, but I keep predicting these things that I see coming, and
At least you're not that Fauci
good.
fella. I think if anyone was gonna, be given an award, a prize for being able to predict the future and do nothing, doing absolutely nothing, or being unable to change the course of events, it would be Dr. Fauci. Knowing what's coming down the road, saying, "Hey, this is what's coming down the road." Not a whole lot of people listening, or not enough people listening, or those in power not listening, and then getting hit by the bus of reality. That would be Dr. Fauci. I think he must have some kind of guided meditation he has to do several times a day just to make it through.
Yeah. Well, I can't possibly imagine that guy.
Right, and then Trump uses him in an ad, makes him sound like Fauci is supporting Donald Trump, like he can, like the president can't do anything more. No one else could expect more from this guy. It's like, oh man,
he did that with a general too.
Yeah,
he also used a general's.
And Fauci's not a young guy; he's an old dude, and to think that he's healthy, but he's heading towards he's already rounded third base. He's heading home, and to think that you're spending your last good years probably fighting this idiot.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Well, he made such an honorable name for himself over the years, trusted, venerable, all this, and then to get saddled up with Trump and Trump trying to, and then of course, you saw how it didn't last very long. Didn't Trump he used to hold these, what are they called? Briefings,
yeah.
And they quit doing them altogether. They just stopped. Well,
yeah, they were losing in polls. They were losing poll points because of these, because of legitimate information.
Crazy that, huh?
Yeah. Funny how that happens.
Let me check here and see what's going on. There was a little bit of something going on in the chat, but I kind of missed it. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it gets going by fast. Thank you again to Ian Davenport. I think we had a new subscriber. I heard it go, but I didn't see anything pop up on the screen. So sorry if I missed it. If you donated to the channel or left a tip and I missed it, apologies. Sometimes it do and sometimes it don't, and I don't know why. So. You know what I think I want to do? Unless you've got more ranting to do, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up just a tiny bit early and go do that voodoo that I do so well somewhere else. Because it's Friday. I'm skipping away from this bitch. I'm like,
you're skipping away like 10 minutes early, Chris. Man.
I love my 10 minutes early. I'm skipping out 10 minutes early. I mean, yeah. Let's do the thing.
This is good because I woke up late and I didn't do anything that I didn't do a blog post today on my, a plug right here for Laughing in Disbelief on Pathos.
Yeah.
I have to do I have stuff to do because I have Ian Harris, this atheist skeptical comedian, coming on my channel. See how I was able to dovetail and pivot into this? He's coming on at 11 a.m. today. We're just going to talk comedy. We're going to talk about the end of the world. We're going to have fun with a smile on our faces. And of course, if you haven't seen the episode of Best Advice Ever, also on my channel, where the Rage is on, and we talk about the best advice he ever had, then you should check that out. We did that yesterday and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I caught a couple of minutes out of that myself. I also went back and watched part of your interview with the guy from Are Americans Just Stupid article.
Oh,
David
Yancey, brilliant guy. Had a lot of good stuff to say.
And I also watched a little bit of the lady who trains the dogs. That was very good. She was good. Watching that dog go after the kibble in the pool.
Yes, there are ways of shaping behavior And that's a psychological term. It isn't just I'm just pulling this out of my butt. And that her dog was afraid of water. I guess some dogs are just afraid of water. And she was trying to shape his behavior so that he would at least not dislike it so much. And she was successful. You could see it playing out right there. She was training the dog at least not to hate taking a bath in all reality.
Yeah. Well, did a great job. It was a good watch. So
and you know what I tell you, behavior is behavior in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
It's how you connect with Christians or people on the other side too. Basic principles is that you're just trying to shape behavior over time. Don't expect any big epiphanies from the other side, but you're in it for the long game, and you always have to remember that when you're interacting with people who are wrong.
Which is right up our job alley. Anyway, so I'm gonna go do my thing. I appreciate everybody. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you to everybody in the chat for stopping by and watching with us today. It was a lot of fun. You're all wonderful. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Nakasuchi, for joining me. I am off to save the world. You guys have a great weekend, and y'all take care. See you Monday.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, Ian Davenport and Cindy Plaza. Thank you and have a great day.